Make sure your treasure is buried, your parrot fed, and the rum is poured. It's time to set sail on another Patches and Rum podcast, exclusively for members of the History of Pirates channel.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Sunday. I'm joined by my normal crew. We got to change our names, man. What are we doing, man? We got to change the name. Ventalo, it's unacceptable, man. Next time we're gonna have to get you at least a hat.
I know. Even Jane's got her avatar all figured out. I'm prepared.
That's right. We've got a great guest today. She was the voice of one of the videos, the most recent one. Would you welcome Pirate Jane Theory?
Hello.
Welcome, Jane.
She actually gave us an R. That's crazy. And I love seeing everyone in the chat. Look at that. Look at all the emojis they're using. Almost 10 people. 10 of my members are here. I love doing these things. We won't keep you too long on a Sunday. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the video that Jane did, which some people, she's got this is the thing with these pirates, man. They got multiple names. I got to put this sword down before I poke my eye out. If they've all got these multiple names, and just like the one that is going to premiere later today, it's about a French pirate. And I talked to Ventalo. If you didn't know, Ventalo is the ultimate excellent editor of this channel. And I was like, hey, man, I think you got his name wrong. And he goes, no, man, it's spelled 7 different ways and seven and I'm like, I looked it up. I'm like, oh yeah, all right. Yeah. So he was just trying to put as many of the different names in there. But I called her Madam Ching. Is that right?
Madam Chang.
Madam Chang.
Yeah.
Madam
but she
Chang.
does have multiple names.
Changi Sao, yeah.
Yeah.
Madam, yeah. I'm looking at it now. I'm not even going to begin to pronounce all these names that they had. So it's pretty cool. Let me say hi to everyone that's here real quick, and we'll get started. Again, we only probably take about an hour of your day, so thank you for being here. You can watch it later if you're a member of the channel. Lady Marine is here. Vixen, Pirating Pirate is here. What is good? Mo Monty, I see you in the chat. Captain Wrecked, who did the voice of the intro and outro, and some other things yet to come. I see you guys here. The Gatekeepers, Dynamite is here. Good to see you. I always mispronounce that on purpose. X-Wing's in the chat. Subtle, how do you say that name? Subtle Deviancy. I think I got that right. Subtle Wicked Deviancy. Virtue is here. Huge shout out to Wicked Virtue, who made all the emojis for this channel. Awesome stuff. So thank you.
Jay
all.
Doesn't have a dictionary on his boat.
No, or my reading glasses, my spectacles. I'm wearing this as a scarf, for crying out loud. That's not how we're supposed to do it, but
you look adorable, Captain.
Okay. So I approached on one of the when I was going through stuff with my book, people were like, it was actually Ventalo, who's next to me. He said, you should ask Jane Theory to voice one of the episodes. And I was like, man, that's a fabulous idea. Why didn't I not think of that? And so I reached out, and what did you think when I was like, hey, Jane, you want to do me a favor?
No, I thought it was a great idea. I love the channel and I love the videos. They're so well done. So it was like, okay, this could be cool.
And then
I didn't know what I was getting into, though.
I gave you the assignment.
Yeah.
So have you heard of this pirate before? Have you heard of?
No, I had never heard of her, but I also wasn't that familiar with a lot of the international pirates. I'd heard of the ones from the Caribbean area, and a couple in Louisiana area, but I had no idea that piracy was even a thing in China until this.
She was like the queen. she was like the queen of all pirates. Like people were talking about female pirates and things
Mhm.
like that. It's like she if there was one success story, especially for women, she
Yeah.
probably is top of the list. And which I found fascinating. And I thought Jane would make the perfect voice. Honestly, for me, I know X-Wing did a video on this channel, but your video came out so good. Like
Oh,
I got to play the little, the music and everything.
I
And
love the music. That was my favorite part.
so to add to it, so it was pretty cool. And people that are in the live stream, if you have any questions for Jane or any one of us, please, anytime you want, go ahead and throw it out there. Do not super chat. You guys are members here. This is us giving back to you. So, what was one of the like you want to like give us some like interesting facts that you
Um,
enjoyed from
so
discovering this pirate?
probably what I found most interesting about her was this moral code that she was able to implement. Like every ship captain had their rules, and most of them were pretty much the same when it came to like spoils of war. You didn't steal from the crew. Um, they because they were a coordinated group of multiple fleets. They did have a shared um, place basically where they kept all of their funds together. They pooled their money and resources. So you couldn't steal from that either. And all of that was pretty typical. You had to obey your captain. You couldn't desert the ship, things like that. But in addition to that, she implemented moral codes regarding behavior and how the people they captured were treated, and specifically the relationship between men and women, which was really interesting because they couldn't like assault the girls or whatever that they captured and all of their plunder. But if they wanted to engage in any type of relations or whatever, they had to actually marry them, and it wasn't superficial. They had to actually be faithful. They had to support them. It was a whole thing. And if you failed to do that, the penalty was death.
Worst job I ever had.
It kept them faithful to each other, it kept them faithful to their families, and it kept them faithful to her and her leadership. So it I know, I think it gave a different perspective to her, that maybe they looked at as some, okay, this is a person who has actual like standards that we have to adhere to and we can respect. And they did. That was the most remarkable thing.
That's how wild is that a
It's
pirate
insane.
that was she a prostitute?
She was. She
All right,
was.
so a pirate that was a prostitute had better moral standing
Mhm.
than a lot of people we see today.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, she grew up at a time and in a community that was incredibly poor, and there weren't a lot of options for the girls and the families. And you see some of that too, like to this day in some, very poor areas in the world. So prostitution was one of the things that she had to do, and they had these floating brothels around the sea in that area. That all of the men, the famous men, the pirates, the politicians, and members of the empire would go and visit. They would frequent, and she apparently used her position to acquire a great deal of information and wealth that way as well, which ultimately impressed the man who would become her husband, and the two of them would lead the Red Flag Fleet.
That's I'm just saying, like going back to I'm reading this here, some of her bullet points. It was
Mhm,
like, yeah, it was absolutely prohibited to have sex or rape female captives.
mhm,
Pirates could marry captives if they had means to support them and be
mhm.
faithful to them, but the rest were either ransomed or freed. Punishment for having sex or raping from them was death. And like when you think about like some of the other pirates that we have covered here, I mean Ed Lowe, the one that you did X-Wing was not. I don't know if he fought. He did have some kind of code, but I don't know if it was that.
Well, I mean, he didn't want to. He wouldn't harm any women that were captured, but it definitely wasn't as strict as Madame Chang.
And I'm thinking too about the African one who had the wives that he would just drop off on the island.
Yeah.
Oh, Black Caesar.
Black Caesar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
he didn't
wild.
really have much of a code there. He just was like, "You're gonna be my wife. We're gonna take you to an island that you might starve to death.
Yeah.
But I'll be back maybe one day with some coconuts or something." But yeah, that's crazy. He says various other offenses were punishable by flogging, ironing. What the heck is ironing?
Shackled in irons.
Oh, just like, you know, just put up.
The stuff we do for fun in the bedroom.
Yeah, mutilation. So you could be mutilated if you went against this woman's command. Now, at that time period, like you think about these time periods where a lot of women, they were looked as, I hate to say it, but for some people, they were looked as like almost pets, like they weren't looked at human. They were looked at secondary. They had no rights, couldn't vote, couldn't do anything. They had to stay home. This was their job. Men treated a lot of women terribly, like they couldn't speak, things like that. But yet here you have a pirate that has these rules that are like, if you don't listen to me, we're gonna cut your hand off. We're gonna poke your eye out. And yet she was able to maintain control of her crew. I think it's why do you think she had such a large crew with such strict rules? Do you think they just needed discipline? They enjoyed it? Or was she that successful that people wanted to be a part of it?
I think it came from the success first, because her first husband was a very well-renowned pirate. He came from a long line of very well-respected pirates, and it was together that they were able to build this confederacy in the first place. So I think it was first just his leadership that you sort of brought people in and they followed. But then they saw her sort of be able to be this great pirate in her own right, and that earned the respect, like actually doing the work, and proving herself. And from there, you can assert, I think, yourself in terms of what your rules are going to be, and actually have people listen and follow you. But I do think that she had to prove herself first, because I mean, it was pirate society, so it wasn't for the weak, regardless of whether you were a woman or a man.
I just showed that they just needed someone to step up, and Vintal's having some cat issues over there. So for them to do that, one of her code of conduct was pirates who gave unsanctioned ordered or refused to follow orders were executed on the spot.
Yeah.
And if anyone stole from the public fund, captured goods, money, or things that they raided from villages that supported pirates were also killed.
This was this pool of resources I was telling you about. There are actually multiple fleets that they brought together. That's what they were able to do that made them so powerful, was that they were able to unite once very disparate bands of pirates in the area. And so they pooled their resources. Of course, they were managed by her lead fleet, but they pooled their resources into this public fund. And no, they were not allowed to steal from it. But by cooperating with one another, they were all able to become wealthy together. And so it worked. It was very efficient. And they saw that they weren't being cheated, so that they saw they could trust her. And everybody fell in line.
The rest of y'all can jump in whenever. So just letting you know.
Yeah, I mean, this is
X-Wing's fascinated. He's just like,
it is. It's incredible. And I think a lot of what she did came from where she came from. So she was poor. She was a prostitute. It would make sense that she would say, you cannot steal from the poor, and we will not be knocking boots outside of wedlock. No pleasure for pleasure's sake.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Jane.
She also managed to bring in other women into the fleet as well. That was something that was a bit remarkable. So you can imagine that part of these rules were to protect the regular sort of women in the community who they were coming in contact with in these raids, but also it aided them in protecting the other women who would ultimately join the crew.
I mean, the gatekeepers, Dynamo, said this would make an incredible movie. I agree.
Yes.
I mean, you talk about Hollywood today. They're looking for strong female leads. They're looking for non-white people. They're looking for all that stuff. You're talking about a woman who was a prostitute, who took a chance, who literally invented her own economy, her own government, her own set of rules, and had one of the largest fleets. It says here, it says that her fleet was so large that she caused many problems for governments with large naval fleets, such as England and France, and of course, China. They clearly did not want to come up against her. They had no solution, and they did not know how to handle her. That's why many of them didn't attack her.
Yeah, they would literally
dominated.
park and go ashore. Some of them actually would sabotage their own ships to avoid having to confront her fleet.
What a freaking, that's like, this is the greatest movie script ever written for pirates.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, you want strong women? You got one right there. I mean, God, I would love to hear that story. And she decimated the Chinese Imperial fleet. And they had basically stated that she had a monopoly on violence there. You know, it was to the point where she wouldn't sink the ships. She wouldn't take the cargo. She would extort the traders and then have them do the work and just take the money.
It was amazing.
Incredible.
Didn't they base a character in Pirates of the Caribbean after her?
Mm-hmm.
They did.
She just had a
small role, but
a cameo.
Yeah.
But also
what did they call it? The convent or whatever, the great meeting of all the pirate lords, whatever it was. She was the one in the geisha makeup.
And actually, and honestly, like going through all the pirates that were there, she definitely was the most powerful one. Vintalo had to edit and find. Was it hard to find like photos and stuff for that video, or was she just?
Not really. There was a pretty large abundance of stuff that was not only written about her, but also depicted, from TV shows to documentaries to, history books. It was really good.
So she is a known pirate. This wasn't like it wasn't something, but we focus so much on the Pirates of the Caribbean, like what was around here that I guess she kind of got lost. But she's also was a pirate that never died. Like she was never killed in action, right? I mean, she died eventually, but I'm just saying, like
she died of old age.
Old age.
She got the good ending.
Yeah.
Where did she? Anybody know where she laid her final head? Like where she's buried, or according to?
I don't know where she ultimately passed away, but what we do know is that she and her husband, her second husband, were able to come to an agreement. They negotiated a settlement with the government and settled down. He ended up joining the military and serving the very government they had been fighting. And she went back to running her own brothel and a couple gambling establishments.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a gambling house too, I believe. Yeah.
Wow.
See, it's such a different time. I mean, think about this. You had to marry a person before you have sex, but we're gonna run a brothel. They looked at it's almost, and I could be wrong, but it's almost as if they looked at that like this isn't really like a sex thing, it's a job. It's like, I'm working at the 7-Eleven, all right, honey, I'll be back. I gotta go do 6 hours at the brothel. There's a cruise coming in.
It was like entertainment.
Oh God.
I'm just saying, like, when you hear stuff like this, where it's like, hey, if you steal food from us, we're gonna kill you. You're gonna get your money, stay with the crew, do all this stuff. But if not, we have no punishment. We're just gonna kill you. And it's like, and then this one here, it's like, if you get caught raping or having sex with someone that's not your wife, we're gonna mutilate you. Which I'm looking at some of the stuff means for some guys, it's So I think that would keep a lot of
laugh.
that would keep a lot of men in line.
Yeah.
like on how that works. But then when it's all said and done, it goes back and they're like, you gonna retire? Yeah. So what are you gonna do? I'll start a prostitution business. I know some ladies that need the work, and then off we go. And then gambling too. It's interesting how gambling was not looked at as like not much of a crime, but more of like playing video games.
Right.
I live in Nevada, Jay. It's still that way.
That's how they view it over there.
Oh yeah.
But then it's like the morality of certain like religious and things like that shifted, where it's like gambling's wrong, this is wrong, the marriage thing and the stealing and all that. You could see like people of Christian faith could get behind them, maybe not killing them, but like saying how that's wrong. But then, it's pick and choose. So I could also see them saying, yeah, starting a prostitution house is probably not a good idea.
But she went from working in one to owning one. So I guess for her, it was a step up.
See, that's the other thing, too, that people don't realize. A woman being a business owner in that time is unheard of. Like, they just didn't do that. Like, a lot of them, they weren't even allowed to do that. But yet she was so powerful and she commanded such a big army that who was gonna talk against her? I mean, I can see it now, right? X-Wing's on the ship. He's looking up. He's like, I'm not listening. Jane Theory's the cat. I'm not listening to this woman. Like, and just kind of laughs at her.
To Jane.
And she just looks and says, all right, well, see that guy right there? Let's cut his arms off and make an example of him. So anybody else want to talk bad about the captain before we go plunder and pillar and rob and steal? Yeah. Anybody else want to line up? Yeah, I'm not taking orders from a woman. All right, get him too. Yeah, he's going over there. Let's cut their arms off and feed him to the dogs, and off we go.
Didn't take much.
Lead by example.
Yeah.
I think that's another economy-wise for a lot of these people that joined piracy, was because that was probably a better paying job than anything that they could find in town.
Yeah, for a lot of them, they started off as fishermen, and it was just a time where they couldn't earn very much money that way. So they turned to piracy as their part-time job, and ultimately, when they began to build more and more wealth, it was like, okay, well, let's just do this full time.
You see how crazy that sounds? Hey, Jay, can you play some games today? Nah, man, I gotta go pirate. I gotta go burn a village down. I'll be back. I'll be back on Tuesday, and then we can pick up some Fortnite. Does that work for your schedule? It's like, actually, you want to go play some golf? No, I can't today. I've gotta. We've got to go execute some people.
I gotta go take down the Imperial Chinese Navy.
She was active for roughly around 9 years in the Chinese Sea. And yeah, another bullet point was that many government fleets, when they saw her flag, they sabotaged their ships, setting it on fire or sinking it before she got to. But how does it's not like just killing? Like, would you not die if you did that?
Well, I think they got off the ship first before they burned it.
Yeah.
How does that work?
You would have had an ashore ship somewhere that you would have, a dinghy or something, or be close enough to land that you can jump off and swim.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like, screw it, and just like dying this way is better than meeting her fate.
That's the thing too. It's like the stories that came out of during the time of these types of pirates were just they were exaggerated greatly, and even people that were writing the news and stuff like that were like, if you were associated with being a pirate, you were associated with eating people's hearts, eating people's body parts in front of them, things like that. So yeah, I guess you're right. It's like, I think I'd rather drown in the sea.
What's crazy is the time frame. When you actually look at when she operated, it's the same time as like the great expansion of the West and railroads. When you think of cowboys and stuff like, I mean, this is the 1800s. Like,
yeah,
it's not that far away that she was doing all this stuff. you could consider it modern times for sure. We like to think of pirates as such a faraway place, but it really wasn't that long ago.
It really wasn't.
Yeah.
Some of the historic pictures that show her, it's pretty wild. I'll share one here. Let me blow it up.
What does Joe Rogan always say? He's like, that's 3 people ago. If you live to be 60, that's only 3 people ago that she was doing this.
Yeah.
Like, she's just front and center.
Yeah. Incredible.
You know, this is what they thought of her. That's pretty wild. I wonder if she was a good like fighter, like if she was good or either two things. Either you're very good motivationer, you can motivate people and how you speak. Or you're like someone that doesn't want to, no one will mess with you because you're such a great fighter or you're such, the stories. So I wonder, maybe she had a combination of both. But growing up in a brothel, maybe she probably had it pretty tough.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like the mafia, there's the guy at the top, the Don, doesn't necessarily fist fight better than anybody else, but through intimidation and the people around you can create an image of yourself that's not to be messed with.
Yeah. She was considered incredibly ruthless, and that may have been part of that image she was creating.
She was also, this is where I got the thumbnail from, if people didn't know. She was also in this Doctor Who episode that I never saw.
Huh.
I don't know if anybody saw.
I don't remember that.
I don't watch Doctor Who, so I don't know. But yeah, she was featured in, I guess, Doctor Time Travel, and I love these shots. Like I look at stuff like this and I'm just like, that's your movie right here.
Yeah. Look at the costume.
Yeah, like that's your movie. Plus with that, with the China stuff, like how they with their lanterns and the way they decorated and built things back then, it's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And
they did a movie. It could be very culturally rich. Like it could be, they could really market a lot off this modern Hollywood.
Yeah, I wonder if they would though, because she did make such a fool of the empire. It could make the government look bad. I wonder what their perspective of her is.
Yeah,
of like the Chinese empire.
Yeah.
For whatever it's worth, China does a great job in removing people from history that embarrass their country. So after I've made several trips over there, and then the stuff that we learn here in the States, they have no idea.
Wow.
Like that picture of like, you guys remember that picture of that tank and that college
Tiananmen Square.
Mm-hmm.
What was that, in the 70s or something like that? People they've erased that. Like that is not allowed to be shown, talked about, because that was
never
an
happened.
Embarrassment. Yeah,
Wow.
It never happened. So I wouldn't surprise me if they were like, this story doesn't exist. This is just a fable. That we just told our kids, we told our daughters so that they too can,
Yeah.
Shang-Chi, that's the guy with the rings of power, right? Pirate. No pirate.
Never happened.
Exactly. Or I would tell the Teds, like, you guys got all those Pirates of the Caribbean. We have the queen of pirates. She was better than all of them.
Yeah.
She made your government shake, It's like she established rules. And she was the most successful out of all of them. Do we know how much like she earned when it was all said and done? It doesn't really say.
Yeah, it doesn't really say, but they just say that she was incredibly wealthy.
Yeah, unimaginable wealth.
How do you? And then she retires.
She retired.
She got a pardon. Isn't that the most incredible part? Is she was pardoned after all of that.
After so much destruction. Like she literally wrecked their naval fleet.
like, look, we can't kill you. Will you please just stop? We'll forget everything. Just stop, please.
Call it even.
Imagine being her husband. How do you deal with that?
She had two.
She had two.
What happened to the first one?
Well, we're not sure if he died in a storm or whether he was killed in battle.
Yeah, we
Oh,
don't really know.
Yeah,
that's how they did it back then.
Yeah, it's
They're
one
like,
of the
hey,
Maybe
send
Jen
my-
could correct me, but didn't he or did she marry her first husband's adopted son?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's who the second guy was. His second in command, his adopted son, the one who was technically to be his heir. But she was like, no, I can marry him too and maintain my position, and she did.
Crazy time. You'll do.
But she was said to be incredibly beautiful, so that may have had
Yeah.
something to do with it.
Well, there's an actual photo of her. Like, she's not, not
What?
bad
Share it.
looking. Yeah. It's in the video. I used it in the video.
Yeah, the painting, right?
And she's like relatively older when this would have been. Well, there's a drawing of her, and then there's I think there's an actual photo of her, but I don't know if it's.
So the Chinese do celebrate her. This is a musical that celebrates her life.
Oh.
So this is they have a pirate musical of the greatest female pirate to ever live.
I would go see that.
That would be a great anime.
Yeah, see, I don't. It's wild why more people don't. This is a problem. Like, and we talk about it. Like, I know Eric July and others talk about it, that we live in a time where Hollywood just constantly recycles stories. And he brings it up. He's like, if you want to do like some amazing mythology stuff, Africa has so much that they haven't even scratched the surface. Asia has so much they haven't even come close to tapping into all the amazing mythology stories and stuff that they have over there. We just live in a time that it's just constantly being recycled. And when I hear Jane and X and all you guys talk about this, it's like the more and more I can see it in my head, I'm like, this would be freaking awesome. Like this would be an awesome story. Like it's better than anything that we see today, honestly.
I think they don't want to invest in it. It's a new character. It would be a new character. And they probably just don't have faith that the audience would be receptive, or they just don't want to take a chance on their investment. Like, I don't know. But they're so hesitant to explore what the rest of the world has to offer. And
It's
there are
so
many
ridiculous.
stories. It's
We
crazy.
live in such an incredible world with such incredible history.
Mm-hmm.
Such incredible history. And like you said, we seem to continually recycle European mythology and European stories and then just change the color of people's skin and call it new and fresh and diverse. And it's ridiculous because there's so many cool stories just like hers that we could live.
Well, look at the story with Mulan and how Disney rebooted and remade that live action. It's awful.
Yeah.
But, they could easily do something like this, but they just choose not to.
I'd take this over Mulan any day.
I would too. Yeah. It's got a lot of sort of. Has anybody ever seen the show Black Sails?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love Black Sails.
This is a painting of where she was born, where she lived before she became. It says public domain, so I guess I could use it. These ads, man, come on.
Yeah, I used that in the video.
Yeah, and it's just everything just looks beautiful, like when they do this kind of stuff.
And she would be on the on some of those ships would have been the floating brothels that were beautifully decorated.
How does that even work? A floating brothel?
Yeah.
If this ship's a rocking, don't come a knocking. Is that how that works? I mean, listen, X-Wing is I want to say he's like our ship expert. Look how the design is so different than like the Pirates of the Caribbean style ships. Like what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of that stuff. They were European built ships. So there was a very standard way of creating a sloop or a galleon or anything like that. I don't have the names for these ships, but
I didn't think so.
Yeah, generally they were much smaller, much faster, and they would have cabins and things like that. But yeah, I mean, the floating pleasure barges were much more of like, it was like dinner and a show. So you would come aboard, you would be served dinner, you would watch a concert with music, and then everybody would go to their rooms and do their thing.
If this ship's a knocking.
Yeah.
And one more thing too about those ships in the photo you just showed, they were all brightly colored. So like hers was the red flag fleet, but the others were all different colored sails as well. The Confederacy of ship fleets was a confederacy of multiple different ship captains and their crews initially. And so all of them had different colored fleets. So you can just imagine the sea being sort of all these floating ships and all the different colored sails. It was probably remarkable to actually see it in person.
Every article I pull up just talked about how she was able to command 8,000 people in a code of conduct in a world that wasn't moral. But I mean, certain cultures are very I don't know, like I don't know what the right word is.
Inherently polite, like the Japanese.
No, it's like so like in China, when they fought a battle and they lost, it was like the art of like the suicide art that they would do, like the samurai. They were very loyal. They were very loyal to their ways, you know, kind of like the Mandalorian won't remove his helmet. You know, it's like you look at that and you go,
honorable. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
honorable.
Yeah. I guess they're very honorable in their culture. So pretty wild.
They valued honor more than death, kind of prospect.
Yeah, death was not a thing. It was kind of like, if I die, I die. I just want to die in battle, you know.
And die with honor.
Right. And when you look at like the Romans, like like even Roman culture, it's like this is wild to me. So I like my master's degree was like in Roman history. So when you became a Roman, you took this vow, and it was such a crazy vow where, sorry, my camera's like slowing up. I don't know what the deal is. It was such a crazy vow where if you were in the army and the commander says, I need you to get to this city by 8 p.m. Sunday, and you got there late, then the commander was like, all right, pick 5 people out and make an example of them and kill them. So imagine you're like 19 years old, you join the army. Hey, everything is going to go great. I joined the army. I'm going to fight. And you might even be the best swordsman, the best gunman, whatever. And you're late to and it's not your fault, but they pick you and you're like, you got to set the example. And they willingly just knelt down and died.
SPQR, man.
You know how crazy that sounds today? Like to think that, like, that's just how it was. Like, you just were like, well, I guess this was this was how I'm supposed to go out. This is what the gods have said to me. So I'm out, you know? I just don't get it. Like, but that's just what they did. And this is funny. This is kind of funny to me here, but this area, you can hear the thunder. I don't know if you can hear the thunder. It's pouring where I'm at too.
Nice.
This cave, which I have no idea goes. I mean, this was named after her adopted son and lover. And it's like, well, this was rumored where she stashed his loot, like where he stashed all his earnings. Because they didn't have a core banking system back then.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
What happens when
a Game of Thrones-esque elements to her story?
Yeah.
It's pretty wild, isn't it? It's like all right, here's your salary for the week. Honey, what are we gonna do with this? I don't know.
Stick it in the cave.
Let's find you see that brown rock over there? You know, we're gonna put it over there. And then we graduated from that to stuffing our mattresses.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let me put this in the mattress. Someone said the story of Jane as Loop Garo, as I say it, is worth a movie at least. I don't know.
I don't know who
I
that
don't know
is.
if Jane wants to be in a movie.
What kind of? I don't know who that is.
We'll have to look it up. We have to look it up. That's for sure.
A Loop Guru is generally believed to be a person who can change into animal form like a werewolf.
So you want a movie, a
Like
story
an
of Jane as a person that turns into an animal?
A shapeshifter?
A lycanthrope, a werewolf. Yeah.
I'd rather be a vampire.
Let's see if we have any questions. Let me just. Oh, he's a French werewolf. Okay.
Yeah, I don't like werewolves.
Doing a comparison of modern pirates to traditional pirates would make a compelling episode on this channel. Modern pirates are. I don't know if modern pirates have the codes that these other pirates used.
They did well, from what I understand of the Somali pirates, initially they did. A lot of them were stopping ships, and they were doing it to steal from them, obviously, but they were doing it because a lot of these ships were coming through their water and polluting it. They were actually coming through illegally at one point. And so they were going on board simply to get the resources off. And they didn't initially intend to kill anybody. And even when they started to kidnap people, the plan wasn't to kill them. It was to get the money from their governments or whatever. Of course, that also went downhill when it became more violent. But initially, they seemed to have codes, because a lot of the people who start doing it, at least on the front end, are doing it as, like with the older pirates back in the day, as a second source of income or just a way to survive. So they're not necessarily intending to be destructive initially, but it just sort of goes that route over time. And we see that even with the pirates in the past. They became oftentimes more and more violent. Maybe that was because that's what they were coming up against, but it tended to get worse over time until ultimately it got so out of control that the governments became even more harsh in how they dealt with them to end them.
A question for Jane. Does Jane think Chinese navigators reached America before Columbus?
I do. I think a lot of people did. I mean, I think that people got around a lot more than we give them credit for in the past.
Yeah.
And probably a lot more than we realize. But sure. I don't see
this was used in the video, but this is the real life photo of.
That's a drawing. I'm pretty sure that one's a drawing, but yeah,
that one's a drawing. Okay,
yeah, that one's a drawing. There's another one where there's a photo.
Someone's got to find it. I need to see this photo.
It's in the video, but I'm trying to find it in my files. I'm kind of disorganized.
That's okay. I see a lot. That's the picture that they use a lot. Is this it here? Hold on.
The wind in the background is killing me, Jane. It's so awesome. It's so cool.
Eerie.
It adds to this whole thing. Is this it here? Hold on. I think I got it.
Subtle Deviancy asked the question.
Is that it right there?
I'm trying to find it. Yeah, the one on the left. Yeah.
Whoa.
This is her later in life. This is her like after piracy. This is a drawing of her during piracy,
which isn't bad, like at all.
No.
It looks like she's got some teeth issues though, which is expected.
Teeth issues.
It looks like she's missing some teeth here. It could just
those
be
are her
shadows.
lips.
I think those are her lips.
Yeah.
All right, Jay. Look at that. We got some rum that I need in my life.
Sunday fun day.
What did you say?
Sunday fun day.
Yeah, definitely. Let me see if I can find another. Maybe there's a better picture that stands out. Yeah, here we go. There we go. I don't know why they just won't blow. I just have to blow it up myself. I'm learning though. I'm learning how to do this. Here we go.
Yeah, Mary Reed and Anne Bonny. That's gonna be a good one.
There she is.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I wonder what she did right after that. You know what I mean? Every time I look at these pictures, I'm like, if you could jump back, 180 years, what happens? Whoa, Jane, are you good? She gets sucked out the window?
I don't know what that was. The truck outside.
Yeah, 5 minutes after this, what was she doing? Was she walking back to her gambling establishment, serving soup? Like, what did she do?
I often wonder, like, people that heard stories. You know how we all want to meet people, like in our favorite films? Like, we want to meet Hayden Christensen. He was Anakin. We want to meet. These were the stories that they told to kids back then.
Yeah.
You wonder if someone was like, I want to go meet this person that shook the world for 9 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you mind if I take your photo? You know what I mean? And it's like, sure, go ahead. I just got finished killing a guy in the back for stealing from me, but like here we are. And again, of all the pirates that we've done on this channel, this person started as a prostitute, became a pirate, commanded the largest pirate fleet in history, shook the world because people were afraid of her, established a bunch of codes that for many of us are morally correct, except for maybe the murder part if you disobey. But man, talk about, I guarantee if some of these codes were in place in America, we wouldn't be seeing those videos on Twitter of people just stealing from Walgreens in broad daylight and walking out knowing that nothing will ever happen to them. We
got to start
Security
cutting hands
nothing.
off again, man. That's what I'm saying. We need to start cutting hands off.
I mean, like that will clear it up. There's a reason why Singapore has like zero crime.
Yeah.
And Xi'an in China, also their crime rate is 0.002%, which means something happens once every 15 years. Not that they cut people's hands off, but like you do it, you break the law, it's pretty severe, and people are like, I'm just going to live peace. I just want to live in peace.
If you spit on the street, you're going to jail.
In Singapore. Well, yeah, like remember we went through that whole thing about that kid that spray painted like a car and he was going to get publicly caned.
Oh my God.
Did you hear about that story?
Bring it back. We need to do that.
Yeah, it was
that
like
actually happened.
Yeah, he got caned, and because he was an American, it was a big deal. You guys don't remember that story? I mean, that happened years ago, but y'all should look it up. It's hilarious. And like, so he was an American messing around, and he spray painted some cars, which in Singapore is punishment with 8 lashings in public with a cane, with a bamboo cane.
Oh, bet that hurt.
And so he was like, I don't want this to happen to me. And I didn't do it and all this stuff. And so people in America were like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. They should never do that. And so they're like, he broke the law in our country, not yours. So tough. And so there was like this big international thing that happened. So what they did was they reduced the sentence from 8 lashings to 4. So he got whooped and then got kicked out of the country.
Nice.
And he was on some talk shows telling his story and he was claiming his innocence and stuff like that. But the majority of Americans were like, we need to do that here.
Yeah, dude. Listen how scared they were. It became an international. Yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying.
It's like we need to do this here because,
Have parents forgotten that they could?
Someone spray painted my car. One last thing, and then I appreciate everyone being here on this Sunday. This was her. I think she looked better in real life than her appearance in Pirates of the Caribbean 3.
Oh, yeah.
She wouldn't have been a pirate at that age.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's retirement.
Well, that character's based off of her. It's not actually.
Right. It's
yeah,
not,
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean wasn't real, by the way.
What? Pretty cool that she was mentioned though, like that they took that. It's pretty significant. And you often wonder too, is if these people ever wondered, if they ever think that people would be telling that people like us would be on YouTube
200
telling the
years from now.
tale of their life.
I think
You know?
I think they actually, the greatest pirates in the world, the ones that are renowned, I think that's exactly what they wanted. I think they wanted to make a name for themselves, to be remembered. You had to do great things to not be forgotten back then, and they understood that. So I think they did. They expected to be known for generations. Um, it's just, I wish we knew who her descendants were and maybe got their perspective on it. Because imagine if this was your ancestor.
Yeah.
That would be incredibly cool. You would certainly keep that story going.
Oh yeah, it'd be tattooed.
Oh,
all
I'd
over me.
open them. I'd open a museum. Are you kidding me? That would be awesome. Any last words, X-Wing Vintalo?
Drink up, my heart is your
Yeah, X-Wing's gonna close on a song, everyone.
No, I'm not singing.
Farewell and adieu to you, they Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. All right, I'm singing alone. Anyway,
I don't know. I don't know the lyrics. I just knew it was from Jaws. That's it.
Captain Rex's Black Sails is the best pirate show in years.
I agree.
But if you have
Good show.
Netflix, go on Netflix and type in the word pirates. Netflix did a documentary that has 6 or 7 episodes. That's really good, but it's really rated R. So it's just FYI. It's really good. And what I really love about that Netflix series is that they really tell the true story of Blackbeard. And because Blackbeard has been, whittled down into folklore, as like almost like a hero, almost like somebody, I want to be Blackbeard. I want to be the pirate that scared everybody in America. But actually he was really a terrible person. Like he was a terrible person. And so yeah, but it's rated R. I mean, there's nudity. There's, but Netflix did it, and I think it was great. I think it was a great documentary, what they did in these 6-7 episodes on that. So you could check that out on Netflix. Jane Theory, your video was fantastic. One of my favorites on the channel.
Aww.
And
It was great to work on.
Premiering tonight around 8:00, we have the new pirate video, which was voiced by Loki. Morning Mischief.
Ooh.
Man, we're gonna go from smooth butter to pure gravel when it comes to these voiceovers. I'm looking forward to it.
He did the most brutal pirate in history, a French pirate. So that'll be great.
What's the next video that we're gonna work on? I'm just curious because I don't even know.
I don't even know either. So
okay.
I think I want to do something a little light, like for the next one. But we'll take suggestions. Like when we close, like if you guys got suggestions, please put it in the comment section, and we'll look into it. But maybe the next podcast we'll put the StreamYard link so we can get Captain Wrecked in here to sing with us. So he says that in the chat. But from all of us here, check out me and X-Wing playing Sea of Thieves. Vintalo.
He doesn't invite me. Doesn't even invite me.
I don't even know if you have that game.
I do. You never asked, but it's okay. That's okay.
He said that live, everyone. Way to go. So
it's okay.
We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for joining Patches and Rum Podcast.
Thank you for being a first mate and listening to the Patches and Rum Podcast.